Recently, we showed how we harvest our own apples, crush them, press them, extract the juice and start that juice fermenting. Today, we're going to take that cider, show you how to clear it, how to bottle it, and how to make it sparkling if that's what you want. Hello and welcome to English Country Life. Welcome to the kitchen. Welcome to part 2 of cider making. In part 1, we showed the process of gathering the apples, crushing them, scratching to use the right term, pressing the juice out, starting fermentation. Today, we're going to pick up from where we left off and we're going to take that process all the way through to having bottled cider. Let's get on. When I described in the earlier video how violently cider will foam up, now you can see in the top of this demijohn all that froth and foam. This is the second day of fermentation, and by the third or fourth day that'll be calming down. We'll just gently get bubbles going through the airlocks. Here we are several weeks later, and I'd like you to note a few things. Up here you can see there's sort of muck inside the demijohn, and that's where the violent foaming took place. And at the bottom there is a thick layer of dead yeast, and we've just allowed that to settle out naturally. The next step is to rack the cider off into a clean, sterile demijohn and allow some more settling to take place. So having racked off the cider into a clean, sterile demijohn, what I'm going to do now is add some finings, half a teaspoon per demijohn. And there's two liquids, finings A and finings B. Put the finings A in, give it a good swirl. I use a metal skewer. And then in half an hour we will add finings B in exactly the same way, and that will just help any material that's still in suspension to precipitate out. This is the cider 2 days after we added the finings, and as you can see it's really started to clear now. There's still a little bit of a haze, and I want to leave this quite a bit longer because I want to be sure that all the solids have settled out and that fermentation is totally complete before we move on to the next stage. The joy of this part of cider making is you can't leave it too long. If you leave it 3 months, it doesn't make any difference. So be patient and you'll get a better product at the end. So as you can see, it is perfectly possible to get beautifully clear home pressed cider. Yes, I've used some finings to speed the process along. You don't have to. Just rack it a few times, leaving a bit of time between each racking, 3 or 4 days, for the solids to settle out. And rack it until it's as clear as you want it. Now bottling. This is some of last year's cider. It's bottled in tonic water bottles, nothing fancy, but they're designed to take pressure, designed to take a fizzy liquid, designed to be watertight, and how much better to reuse than just throw them away. It's not cloudy, by the way. What you're seeing here is condensation on the side of the bottle because we keep our beer and cider in an outbuilding that's beautifully cool. What I'm going to use today though are clip-top glass bottles like this. I really like them because they make a really positive solid gas tight seal, so you can carbonate a liquid that you put in them. We managed to get these because a local place was selling wonderful lemonade and so forth in these types of bottles, and actually buying them full was cheaper than buying them empty from somewhere like Lakeland, so we got a decent number. We also have a very large number of these Grolsch bottles. At one point these were very popular and local guys who drank it, and I think a local pub, saved a lot for me, so I've probably got 100 or more of these bottles. And if you know anyone who drinks Grolsch, they really are great. You can use them hundreds of times. So today what we're going to do is get our cider into bottles. I'm going to explain how to make it carbonated if that's what you want. If you want to make a lightly sparkling cider, there's no great mystery. What we're going to do is put a little bit of granulated sugar into the bottle. That will encourage some more fermentation. With a bit more fermentation, you'll get a little bit of CO2 given off, and the CO2 is what causes the bubbles. Now, I can't stress this enough. Don't put too much sugar in a bottle. You don't want the bottle to pop. You don't need a lot of sugar to create fizz. In the old homebrew days, people used to talk about using 1 teaspoon of sugar per pint, and that is vastly too much. 1 teaspoon per litre is more than enough. For cider, I like it lightly sparkling, so I'm going to use half a teaspoon of sugar per litre. I put a big funnel, big wide open funnel in the top of the bottle because I find the sugar passes through a big funnel more easily than it does through a little funnel. And what we then end up with is just a little rim of sugar in the bottom of the bottle that we will dissolve into the cider when we pour the cider in, and that will ferment if we keep it in a warm place for a few days and just create that little bit of fizz in the cider. If you're going to do what I do, which is use that same funnel to fill your bottles with cider, do what's called charging, which is putting a bit of sugar in the bottle. Do that first for all the bottles, because as soon as you start pouring cider through the funnel gets wet and the sugar sticks to the side of the funnel. Once it's full and sealed, it's worth giving the bottle a bit of a swirl just to make sure all that sugar is dissolved in the cider. That sugar will be consumed by the yeast if we keep it somewhere warm, and that'll cause a little bit of sparkle. In order to get the sparkle into the cider, the yeast needs to consume that sugar. So we will leave the bottle somewhere warm for a week because yeast doesn't like cold. After a week, that little bit of sugar will be fully consumed, there'll be a light sparkle on the cider, and we can put those bottles somewhere cool. I like to leave them at least a month in a cool place, and then they're ready for drinking. But don't rush to drink them, they'll be great next summer, they'll be great for years to come. Once your fermentation's over, the process is really simple. If you want the cider clear, and that's how I prefer it, rack it a few times, leaving a few days in between each racking to get it clear. Add a bit of finings if you want to speed that process up. And if you want it sparkling, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of sugar per litre in the bottle. Pour the cider in, leave it somewhere warm for 7 days so the yeast can eat up that sugar. You don't need to do that if you're making still cider. Put it somewhere cool for 28 days and enjoy it. If you're enjoying this kind of content, can you spare us 5 seconds? Give us a thumbs up down below. If you'd like to leave us a comment, that's even better. And we will be doing a lot more of this sort of stuff over the winter. So if you'd like to see that, cider vinegar coming shortly, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it, and you'll hear every time we upload new content. But whatever you do, come back and see us soon. Take care.